Yo, what's up? This is Eldritch Terror. Today we're going to be talking about Halloween Horror Nights 33. We're going to be talking about more rumors and speculation, Slaughter Sinema 2, Goblins Feast, and our latest announcement, Major Sweets Candy Factory. And we're going to be taking a look at Halloween Horror Nights Orlando's panel over at Spooky Empire. And we'll even be getting a sneak peek of a scare actor from a house that'll be appearing later this year. Man, I can't believe we got 3 original houses announced this week, 2 of which being returning themes. And if you think that seems out of the ordinary, I think I have some information on why that might be. I recently stumbled across some posts made by a moderator of the r/HHN subreddit, and I find some of this stuff to be very interesting. We're going to go over all of that, and we're going to be talking about these house announcements today, as well as going over some of this new merchandise that was announced. So where do we start? Well, I know we were just hit with a barrage of announcements, so how about we start there? The very first thing that came to us was a little commercial announcement that was not an announcement. It was very strange, but I think I have some information on why that turned out that way, and why we shouldn't read too much into the things that were represented there. But immediately following, we got the announcement for our first house, finally! Slaughter Sinema 2! Not only was this the first house announcement of the year, but this is also the first time ever that Halloween Horror Nights Orlando has announced an original house at their panel at Spooky Empire. This whole presentation was super cool, and it even included our first look at a scare actor that'll be appearing in the house, as well as a bunch of information about what we'll see. But let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
That's right, we're going back to the Cary Drive-In for Slaughter Sinema 2, again, a sequel to a fan-favorite haunted house. We're exploring 8 brand new Slaughter Sinema films in this house, one of which is Heavy Metal Hell 3D, which is where this character's from. We're also calling back to some fun things from the first Slaughter Sinema. Charles Gray, Dylan Colath, and everybody who was involved in bringing this project to life poured so much passion into making this haunted house everything you've wanted it to be for years, and we cannot wait for you all to experience it only at Halloween Horror Nights 33. But we are now officially in announcement season, right? So make sure to keep your eyes peeled on Halloween Horror Nights Orlando socials for future announcements. We'll see you in the fun.
Slaughter Sinema 2. If you're dying for a B-movie horror marathon, head to the Cary Drive-In. Scream through scenes from creature features, grindhouse gore, spaghetti westerns, and more. Spaghetti westerns. That's gonna be interesting. That'll probably be a funny one. Man, I loved the first Slaughter Sinema house. It was so cool. I'm personally a huge fan of cheesy B-movie stuff, so having every room be dedicated to a different theme was so cool to me. And apparently it was cool to a lot of other people too, because 2 more Yeti houses came out of that one design. I wonder what'll pop up in this one that'll maybe get represented later on in future years. There was a lot of things I loved about the original Slaughter Sinema. Everything from the queue, where they had the trailers for the movies playing, to the smell of popcorn when you walked in the front door. They really just nailed that, and I can't wait to see how they bring it back. And while we're on the topic of Slaughter Sinema 2, I don't know if you guys found this interesting, but if you look closely at the 2, does that look familiar? A lot of people have been talking about how this may be an icon year, and if they bring Chance back, that would be amazing. But moving on, we've got the Goblins Feast. Welcome to the Goblins Feast Tavern, and visit the Goblins Village, where lavish feast is being prepared for goblins, orcs, hobgoblins, and witches, and you are the main course. Okay, bear with me, I know. This sounds like a weird one, but is it just me, or is it always the ones that sound the strangest that end up having the craziest house design in the long run? I cannot wait for this. I really think that they're gonna do some cool things that we just have not seen before. Major Sweets Candy Factory. You've been invited to chaperone a field trip to a candy factory. The deadly delicious treats turn the kids into sugar-fueled fiends. I have a feeling that this is gonna be very similar to the Scare Zone. It sounds like we're gonna go to the factory where the evil candy was made. I can't wait to see what kind of cool things they got for us in store. Major Sweets Scare Zone was one of my all-time favorite Scare Zones. Walking through it, it made me feel like it was Halloween night for every night that I was there. It was such a perfect vibe, and they encapsulated that so well. I can't wait to see what they do, putting it through a proper house. But now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. I think that I have uncovered some very interesting information about Halloween Horror Nights, and that could give us some major clues about the event coming up. There's this guy known as the Pinhead, I Know More Than You. He frequents the Horror Night Nightmares Discord and the HHN subreddit. And man, he's been dropping some juicy stuff lately. And some of the things that he's saying and the things that we've received so far kind of make me think he's not making it up. So let's go over these things and see see if I can give the outsiders some insider information. Firstly, we'll notice that about 6 days ago from the time of recording, just before all these major announcements came out, he posted a reminder for the rules to the subreddit, establishing that him himself will be posting announcements and for not everybody to spam them as they come in. This is extremely interesting to me because he clearly was cued in that something was about to happen before any of us knew. This is the first thing that grants him some credibility from me, but it goes so much deeper. He goes on to say, potentially I've been hearing this week, specifically for about 2 months now. Many people are telling me today, but I'm much more confident in saying it will be sometime within the next 3 days, since they switched days on us multiple times last year. I don't know about you, but I find this very intriguing. Just after we got our kind of nothing announcement, there was a thread going on the HHN subreddit, and in it he said some very, very interesting things. Firstly, this user asked him if there was any hope for an announcement that day. He responds, murky. The announcement schedule I was queued in on a while back had a house announcement this week, but it was supposedly going to be a property they thought they were getting, but it fell through. It seemed like a different house would be announced in its stead, and was hearing there will still be getting something this week, but it's possible that teaser is what we're getting. Although the HHN Twitter accounts are still active, House 2 was supposed to be announced in early June, and we're still getting that house, but that could be the first house announcement now. So TLDR, official announcement this week is up in the air at the moment. Following this, people asked if there were any IP dropouts that he knew about, and if he could elaborate on that. In the comments, somebody asked him what house we may have lost, and this was his response to that. Well, there wasn't a dropout per se like Scream. There were 2 IPs Universal was after this year that they didn't get. The first was the big one a lot of people wanted. That was ditched pretty early as they couldn't come to an agreement. The second, the one that was originally supposed to get announced this week, supposedly, Universal thought they had it in some way, but ultimately they couldn't close it for whatever reason. They try to have all IPs locked away as early as possible, but negotiations aren't easy. It's not all about the money. A lot is often about control. Some rights holders want to have significant say in how and what is built into a house. Others are more lax. Creative has pivot options, whether concepts or flushed out treatments they're saving, in case these things happen, which they often do. Many times we hear a rumored house was lost, it means it was almost secured, but ultimately couldn't be. Also, that info quite often takes time to trickle down to us, so something lost might have happened much earlier than we think. User responds, perfect explanation for everyone. Now any hints on what those 2 IPs might be? Another user comments, Five Nights at Freddy's and Elm Street? Pinhead responds, you got it. So there it is. We're not getting Nightmare on Elm Street, we're not getting Five Nights at Freddy's. I know, there's tears on both ends, but man, it's still possible in the future. I feel like when they miss out on something like that, it just goes back on the shelf and back into the think tank. We kinda got Nightmare on Elm Street in the past. It was a very long time ago though, and I know that people would love to see that come back. And I know that Five Nights at Freddy's is super high right now, but perhaps there's still hope for it at Hollywood. In response to when we might be getting some information on Hollywood, he says, sorry, I know it sucks, you'll get something in a couple weeks, hang in there. And elaborating, he goes on to say, unfortunately not. We have to wait until the first IP for the first shared announcement. That will be soon too, but unlikely this week. One user asked about the rumored weekend involvement this year, and here's what he had to say. This one I'm keeping close to the vest for now, except to say that what happens in Orlando won't be what happens in Hollywood, with respect to the weekend. User comments, I would be insanely jealous if Hollywood got Dawn FM. Another user responds, is this basically confirming that one will get a house and one will get a scare zone? Pinhead responds no. And if you're interested with all the information that we've gotten from Pinhead so far, and you want to know what he thinks about the current spec maps, this user asks, I've been counting down and we're in the last 100 days or so. Is any particular spec map looking reliable? I'd appreciate it. Been going since 2012 without fail. Still excited no matter what. Pinhead responds, probably Horror Night Nightmares, but none are fully accurate, and the locations often are a little off. Toughest spec. But the IPs are locked in for both parks at this point. It sounded to me like this might be a light year for the IPs, which could be cool because I know that a lot of people have been begging for that for a long time now. But I think that a couple of the major IPs that they were hoping for this year just didn't happen for them. So now that we've all been brought up to speed, we can go back to praying for the next announcement. Hopefully I've shared some of the insight with you that I've gathered from around the internet, and hopefully we can all meet up to have an amazing Halloween Horror Nights. What do you think about this I know more than you guy? Do you think that it's all BS, or do you think that there might be something to what he's saying? I don't know. Me personally, I think that he's in there. I think that he knows somebody that's telling him things that they shouldn't be, and that he's telling us all the things that we need to be told. So thank you very much, Pinhead. I salute you. Be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video. If you know someone who might enjoy it, send it their way, and drop your theories in the comments for me. Let me know what kind of scare zones you want to see this year. Those things normally come pretty late, but we've got a couple of rumors for them so far. I've heard people mention a weekend scare zone, as well as a Blumhouse scare zone, and I think it's pretty nailed in that we're getting the return of the Fuel Girls for a show this year. Let me know how you'd feel about Chance coming back to the event. And are you excited for the houses announced so far? And now let's talk about the merchandise. We've had a few things released so far this year available on the HHN store and in the park. And I don't know about you guys, but this promo merch just isn't really doing it for me. I'm personally a fan of the more gritty stuff, and I know that they'll have offerings for everybody at the event, but I can't wait for them to put out something that I personally want to buy. This stuff is very, very loud. I'm not sure what kind of hints they're giving away with it. They seem to have gotten rid of the red splatter on the front shirts, and I personally really miss those guys. I wish they'd bring those back. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.